Cornell, this conversation around the president's health, his mental acuity, his ability to function throughout the course of the day. We've seen him sort of taking that little, 5-minute nap while others are talking. I found it interesting that the president always likes to sort of place himself in this physical space that is just, it strains credulity. There's a great picture of Trump side by side with athletes who supposedly carry the same dimensions as the president. Let's just put it that way. Last April, the White House physician claimed that Donald Trump was 6'3", 6'3". I'm 6'4". Donald Trump is a lot shorter than me, just for the note to note that, and 224 pounds. So let's take a look. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DK Metcalf is 6'4", 229 pounds. He has 4% body fat. Donald Trump claims the doctor said he has 5% body fat. Seattle Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold is 6'3", 225 pounds. Now, you tell me, America, and Cornell, you can speak for them right now, as to whether or not those numbers look like they fit the physical imagery of a president.
Can I just say in defense of the president, I used to lie on my driver's license all the time. It said I was 150 for the last 5 years. I ain't 150 now. I've lost 80 pounds, still ain't 150. But the driver's license
No,
says
but that's good. On paper, that's what it says, right? But when we look at him...
Well, here's the real problem for it, is that he built so much of his brand around hypermasculinity and being a tough guy, and so much of sort of that mega cult-like behavior is about his brand of being a strong man,
putting his head on the body of a Greek Adonis, and saying that's Trump,
and it's all part of the brand. And this is where it gets really problematic, because it begins to crumble when he's falling asleep, when he can't string together a sentence, when he clearly has visible signs of
being 80 years old.
And there's nothing wrong with being 80 years old. I hope that I will make it to 80.
Amen.
I doubt it with my drinking.
Close.
However, I think it does really... And this is why they have to keep building at it, because part of his brand is this idea that he's a strong man. He's a tough guy. He's the biggest, strongest, toughest guy in the room, and he can get things done. And that begins to fall apart if you take that away from him.
This is from the Washington Post today. The headline is Trump faces health questions ahead of another Walter Reed trip. Eugene, this quote, "This White House just doesn't seem to want to acknowledge any physical ailment, but older people develop medical issues, and the president is almost 80 years old," said Jonathan Rayner, a longtime cardiologist for former Vice President Dick Cheney. There just seems to be a lack of candor from the White House. Sometimes at the White House, you can create your own problems.
Yes.
I've been there. And so it feels to me like the questions surrounding the president's health are so prevalent because of how the White House themselves, they have acted here. It's like they created all this secrecy around it, and so it's pushing us to ask more questions. And then we are seeing the president seem to fall asleep in meeting after meeting, whether it is in the Oval Office, literally in the middle of a press conference, or in a cabinet meeting. So I'm just wondering why he can't stay up. And if they're not saying what's going on, then is something going on with the president? This is an issue of their own making, I believe.
I mean, their own making, and not just as the folks that are in the White House, but when they were a campaign, when they were out of office, President Trump and everyone around him called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe Biden. When Joe Biden fell asleep in some very long meetings, they did the exact same thing. They talked about it. And
never
so now, never know that we know what. But he definitely, because these folks are older. And I think one of the things that you struggle with as a reporter is like there are just facts about being older. You sleep more. Your health declines. Weird things happen. Bruises
Why are you looking at me?
She looking at him.
At the table.
No, you're not, and that's my point.
Exactly.
Like Nancy Pelosi is almost 80. Is she not? Jim Clyburn is almost 80. He's older than the president.
Now, Donald Trump stays up all night. We know that. He's always tweeting and all those kinds of things. He doesn't seem to have like a super healthy sleep schedule. That's very clear. But I will also say one of the things that keeps coming back to me when we have these conversations is that Biden administration officials, Biden campaign folks used to say to me, my boss pretends like he's not old, so I have to pretend like he's not old too. That's the same thing that's happening in this current White House. Is Donald Trump is almost 80 years old. He wants everyone to see him as this virile young man, and so everyone else has to pretend that he's virile.
And the problem is this why we're in wars? Is this why we're doing dumb things? Right? Because you have this person who's falling asleep at the wheel in the White House. This is why we're having this disastrous foreign policy. This is why we're having this disastrous economic policy, because the guy who is supposed to be at the head of the wheel is falling asleep.